There. What weapon begins with N?
Nuclear
missile.
Now you've got to remember, in Shackletons we're all deaf as a flipping post because the noise in here is horrendous. And Nimrod wasn't that good either, so we're all deaf as a post. Was that
Is it M missile? Is that right?
no, they're not missiles. They're nuclear death bombs.
N, sorry, not N.
No. N for Nev. That's me. Nev the Nav. Born in 1937. You see, it was my birthday. Just last Monday. 80 years old. How did I get here? Well, I hope kids still be doing this at 90 years old. Anyway, yeah, we had 2 nuclear death bombs, American ones, okay, and they're for attacking underwater submarines. We have a 2-man principle with this. I'll turn this off to save my battery. Yeah, 2-man principle. I'm the only one who can make the weapons live. Okay, so we have, now it doesn't matter if I'm sitting there, I'll be reading the special weapon checklist, okay, but I'm still in charge, alright, and as the first nav I'd have to say, if we want to make a nuclear attack, we've got to tick 2 boxes. Have we had NATO clearance? You know, has NATO gone nuclear? And we, oh my god, 2 or 3 hours ago, we got a rather complicated message in and gulp. NATO's gone nuclear for whatever reason, maybe in response to the Russians going nuclear, you know, who knows. Anyway, we wonder then whether there's going to be a big hole in the ground when we get back home, but you know, so that's 1 tick in the box. Yes, we've got the NATO clearance. If we're working with an aircraft carrier, which we almost certainly are, we might be 300 miles ahead of him, but he's going to come through the area we're searching. The reason we're ahead of him is that cruiser I was showing you, the photograph of down the back, a lot of the early cruise missiles only had a range of about 300 odd miles. So we would be searching about 300 miles ahead of the carrier, because that's where the ships are going to launch from and where submarines would come up and launch from. Okay, so that's a likely area to find, you know, something interesting going on. But the carriers are planning to come through this area at some stage, and we can't go dropping nuclear weapons willy-nilly without getting permission. So we've got NATO clearance and then carrier clearance. They said yes, they're going to turn away and go some other direction. And so this guy here reads out the checklist. I arm up, say, number 1 weapon. The last check I do is select the weapon. Number 1 weapon selected. Until I select that, nobody can drop it. Now, the pilots have got nuclear releases as well as me. I'll tell you the reason for that in a minute. And so I've armed up the weapon because I'm quite happy we've ticked the 2 boxes. The first pilot sitting in that seat, he now has an extra switch which is not fitted to this aircraft, but it's called the bomb release safety lock, and that's normally at safe, and these 3 nuclear releases are all safe. Even if I press that, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so if the first pilot there says NATO clearance, permission from the carrier, yep, okay. He said, right, bomb release safety lock, this is the last check of all from the checklist, bomb release safety lock, live. So I'm now guiding the aircraft out, we've got the weapon armed, and then I go attacking, weapon now, and when the pilots hear that, they press their buttons, and this is the only reason we give pilots nuclear releases, in case my button doesn't work. Okay, so anyway, big bang, you know, and that's the end of it. Now, funny enough, I had a lady here, first time I've ever been asked this question. She said, would I have any hesitation in using nuclear weapons? And I said, after a little thought, I thought, not in the slightest, because what you have to remember, this is not like Europe with cities, populations. There's just us and 150 odd people down there. Okay, if I'm in the Nimrod tracking a nuclear submarine with ballistic missiles, 16 of them, 3 or 4 warheads a time. In fact, I was reading recently, they've gone to having 4 or 5 warheads now, because the guidance is so accurate. All they want to do is take out the centre of a city, so they have quite small nuclear warheads. You know, none of this 30 megaton stuff. It'll be sort of 5 megatons, or even less than that, maybe 1 megaton. But enough, because it's so accurate, the weapons are so accurate, you know, they can plant it right where they want it to. Okay, so they might have 16 missiles with, say, up to 5 warheads, which go off to all different targets. Okay, so they're going to kill millions of people. Would you hesitate? You know, in the North Atlantic with no other people around apart from us and them down there. And similarly, if it's a diesel-electric submarine with just a few of these cruise missiles, and they're going to fire those at our carrier and maybe a dozen warships, a few thousand blokes, you know, I wouldn't hesitate on killing those either. That's our job, okay? And just to put it in context, I've met now, I had 2 Russians here this morning. One was both retired, one was ex-Navy. And I've met a Russian Navy pilot and a Russian Air Force pilot. And then just a few weeks ago I had a Russian Army sergeant. He was in charge of a SAM missile battery, a surface-to-air missile battery.
Wow.
And they were nuclear apparently. He was saying they had small nuclear, nothing's secret anymore, you see. Small nuclear warheads, about this sort of size, you reckon. Because where our bombers tend to go on their own, because we haven't got that many of them, the Americans tend to go in formations, you know. And so they'd hope with a nuclear weapon to take out half a dozen at a time, you know. Anyway, you know, what I normally tell people, they're just like us. They're no different from us. They love their aircraft and their job they're doing. It's very interesting, all this lot. They like the job they're doing. They don't want to go to war any more than we do. I'm not talking about Mr. Putin here. I'm talking about ordinary people.
Yeah, ordinary,
like us,
yes.
You know, or Mrs. May for that matter, or Mr. Trump over there. I'm talking about ordinary aircrew, you know, people, normal people. But they train for war. Same as we did, and hope the hell we never actually go to war. And who wants to use nuclear weapons? My God, well I don't, but we train for it. Okay, so we do an awful lot of training. On this radar buoy here, we do hours and hours and hours and hours of it. And then, so in a month, I get asked this question, I don't think you're on board when I mention it, 12.5 hours to 15 hours would be a normal trip, 10-man crew, all male. And we might do, say, a couple of operational trips a week and a couple of 1 or 2 training trips. Training trips will be 8 hours. All right, we do 4 hours on the radar buoy. And by the way, we can train anti-submarine. Let me just show you this rather interesting, if I can find the right picture. This was developed by one of these guys, one of the sensor operators on the ground. They developed this submarine trainer. So this is on at our base, about 30 miles from our radar buoy here. Okay, what I can do with nothing in the bomb bay at all, we use this radar buoy here as the centre of my plot here. Okay, and the pilots can see the light on it, and radar can pick it up and home it to us. So we pretend that's a submarine, and we home in here, and I go through all the actions of as if the submarine has gone down, and I drop my pattern of 4 sonobuoys, selecting the sonobuoys, dropping them, marking my thing here, you see. And then we have a grid, an acetate grid, and I pick up the X and Y positions of the sonobuoys I've just dropped, pass them to this guy here. He talks to this chap on the ground back at base about 30 miles away, and this is the submarine plotting table. So this is the submarine. It's controlled, it's electrically powered, so it can move, and it's got a pen underneath it, so it's got tracing paper here, so as it moves it plots where the submarine's gone, and then they've got little controls for turning the submarine and speeding it up and slowing it down. Okay, now when this guy passes the position of my sonobuoys, this guy here moves these rails this way, and then these are the sonobuoy transmitters. They move those along there and put them in the same places I've said I've just dropped them. Okay, and then underneath here there's a wire, so you pull that wire out and then hook it into the submarine. It's got a little ball on the end of it. Hook it into the submarine, so as the submarine moves around, the wire will follow it like this, and also as it goes out, that will give you the range. Okay, because some sonobuoys are active, so they ping, so these guys here can be a bearing and a range. The range comes up on that top little readout there, and they just sing that out over the intercom, and I've got a ruler and I measure the range along the bearing with a ruler. Anyway, so these guys here can move the submarine when the exercise starts with a pen, and then I can drop more sonobuoys, because these are fairly short range, these sonobuoys. So if I haven't got an attack in quickly, I might want to drop extension buoys. I pass the route nav there, the position I've dropped them in. He transmits them back to this guy. This guy here sets